Hi, this is John Sheree with Word Explosion Outreach, and today we're going to talk about the 5 love languages. So it's a book by Gary Chapman, and Sheree, you want to give a little quick breakdown of it?
Of course. The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman was a very interesting book. It describes how people should be in a relationship of marriage. And it also is just relationships in general. You get some very good insight on how to treat one another. It's really descriptive on different ways of viewing relationships from different aspects. The 5 love languages are, did you want to just go ahead and just
go ahead and list
say
them.
the list?
Yeah.
Okay. The first one is the gift of affirmations. The second one is quality time. Third one is the gift giving. Fourth one is acts of service. And the fifth one is physical touch. You can tell in relations with just, generally speaking, all of those things would be good for any relationship. When you have a relationship with your family, your coworkers, because everyone would like to have affirmation, someone saying something nice to them, someone would like to spend time with other people, giving gifts. I mean, you give gifts to your neighbors, your friends, and acts of service, when you do something nice for someone like the homeless, or you give someone something. Those are very beneficial gifts in any relationship. And physical touch, sometimes people just like a pat on the shoulder. Hey, good job.
Don't touch me.
And look, and some people don't. But, those are the things that could benefit any relationship. But we'll be discussing today the benefits that it has in marital relationships.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about sort of how it connects to different verses in the Bible, different Bible stories, and probably in the next episode we'll talk a little bit more in depth about like the relationships and how people present these different love languages essentially. Yeah. So sounds good. So I guess first off we'll talk about affirmation. Okay. So I'm sure you want to go ahead with the Bible verse for that one.
Sure. Okay. We'll be reading from the Holy Bible and the version of NIV, which is the New International Version. So we're going to do affirmations first, and we found one that was really interesting in Colossians. It's chapter 3, verses 12 through 14. I'm just going to read it as it is in the book. It reads as follows: Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Oh my gosh, this scripture is just so filled with everything that you need. Love, humility, everything, forgiveness. Oh my gosh, someone was talking about forgiveness earlier today. And we really need to focus on those different aspects, because sometimes we don't really know what forgiveness is. But the affirmation, people, just need to be kind to one another. Everything that's been described in this chapter and just these couple verses would just fulfill you.
Yeah, I feel like the kindness is really the most important part of this.
Oh,
it's
yes.
Like, and it doesn't even have to be something extravagant. It's just like, I like you as a person, you've done good things for me, and just saying like, I appreciate you.
Oh, man.
Which like, and this, I feel like this is one of the most Christian things, is like, it goes beyond just like family, friends, like just being in general kind to your fellow human beings.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a very important thing. And you can find this like throughout the Bible, where like Jesus himself like was all about the golden rule and kindness.
Yes.
And treating everyone equal.
Yes.
So.
And then what is it? There's kindness, compassion. Oh my gosh, when you show compassion for someone else, they feel that. You know, when you show compassion to someone, it kind of like just shows them, and it just reflects caring. Like, oh my gosh, I feel like, you know, someone cares for me. Someone is thinking about me, and that just makes a person build their self-esteem and help them to grow. What is your take on humility?
I'm a strong believer in that. I mean, you know, hubris is the common downfall of many people, thinking you're, you know, just better than other people.
Oh, yeah.
So humility is a part of that, seeing that, like, again, it goes back to that equality where it's like, you know, I may be smarter in some ways, I may be stronger, whatever, but the one thing I like to tell people is, like, there is always going to be somebody richer than you, somebody's always going to be smarter than you, you know, somebody's always going to have what you are lacking, and that may be frustrating you at some point, because, like, you thought you were awesome, but, you know, there's always somebody better than you, you know.
Like, oh, man,
you could be a billionaire at 25, and there's that 21-year-old billionaire, like, making you feel like you didn't do anything.
Man, let me tell you this right quick. I saw, like, Eddie Murphy on a reel for Instagram, and he was like, you know, because Eddie Murphy's, like, you know, and a big comedian, and so he says, well, what record did Kevin break? Because I guess Kevin said something about he broke Eddie's record.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, so Eddie was like, what record? What did he break? I'm still like #1. He said, oh, well, since there's a record that you broke, I want it back. So I'm coming back after 27 years to get it. I'm like, oh my God. That, you know, that was still humble because he was like, I love Kevin Hart. But it was just funny, like, how they just, you know.
And, you know, there's kind of like a humility in that, like, you know, like, you're good, but I can still get, you know, like, oh, you've surpassed me. And, you know, for them, it's like a healthy competition.
Yeah,
like,
that was funny.
You can definitely see how some people are like, no, they'll talk people down to make themselves feel better.
And that wasn't the case with Eddie. No. I really had liked that. Now, what about your take on gentleness? We'll reflect on that, gentleness.
And I think that's just sort of like treating people how they deserve to be treated, because a lot of people, especially like people who are in a relationship and feel very traditional, sometimes lose sight of, like, maybe this is not how I should treat that person, or like treating them how you as an individual may want to be treated, but it doesn't always work for everyone. So that gentleness is sort of part of that. So you don't, you know, treat someone harshly or forget, like, you care about them, you know. You hate the bad act, not the person. That's the important thing.
Okay.
You know. So don't lose sight of that because you are in the moment frustrated or upset with someone. Don't to be excessive about that. And remember, like, people make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And then you have to move from that.
Okay, well, so I'm going to get controversial here. When I think of the word gentleness, I think of more like a woman, because it's like our nature to be like that. And I think that gentleness for a man would be kind of like, not necessarily out of character, but something that they would really have to work on. Because I think gentleness is like natural for us, because we're like motherly, and you know, like, because gentleness, you think of just soft, you just think of like, you know, delicate, and you know, and I would think that, you know, women would have that like down pat, like, oh, we're gentle by nature.
Well, and that is sort of part of like traditional gender roles and expectations, but like, you know, as we've seen, and you know, in other episodes we'll get into like, you know, the LGBTQ queer issues and all that, then you get into sort of like the vast majority, you know, so many different spectrums of like expectations and what roles people play in a relationship.
Okay.
So, but you know, yes, traditionally, like women are seen as the gentle, you know, men as the provider, the strong.
So is it stereotypical for me to think that though? Because I don't want to be like judgmental. But then, I mean, because we are different. Like,
yeah. But I mean, I like the idea of like, we have sort of both of those components within us, men and women. So like, you know, you can be like a man can cry, you know, you can be sensitive.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, like, you know, and I have kids, and one thing I stress with them is like, you know, okay, you're crying. Why are you crying? You know, is it because you're hurt or like, you know, little things like that. And,
Okay.
you know, to sort of understand where your own feelings are at and like, you know, is this something you necessarily need to cry about? Like, but to everybody, like, if you're upset, you're upset. Your feelings are valid. So it's important to acknowledge that. But people get so caught up in, like, especially men in general, like, we're supposed to be tough. We're not supposed to give in to, like, these nicety. You know, if somebody sees you cry, it's like, you're less of a man. And, like, no.
And that's not,
you know.
Yeah,
like, you cut a toe off or something, you're gonna cry. You know, bad things are gonna happen. Like, you know, like any guy that tries to be the toughest guy, you tell him his mom is like sick or passing away, he's gonna cry. So,
you got that definite. No, the next one was patience. I don't know if I'm necessarily a patient person myself because I kind of like.
I feel most people aren't.
Yeah, I kind of want what you want when you want it, and it's like when you don't get it. Well, that's for me. I get like an attitude. So I'm like, why am I not getting what I want when I want what I want? So
one thing I love to tell people is like, anytime you think there's like time constraints on something, like it's not real. Yeah. Like you're just making it
delusional.
Like they can't see the rest of this room. we discussed this earlier. Like, it's been cold. I ain't cleaning this room. So, you know, like, but there's no urgency, you know, until we start doing this. But, you know, like, you feel like you want these things done. Again, it goes back to that idea of like, you know, I got to do this. I got to be better, do everything. And it's like, I always tell people, like, you know, unless you're at the edge of death and life is over, like, you have time. Like, I've known plenty of people, like, you know, 50s, 60s, 80s, whatever, like, they find a relationship, they switch careers, they go back to school. Like, I remember seeing an article, like, years ago, like, some woman went back to school and graduated in her, like, 80s or 90s. So, like, it's never too late to do something you want to do. So but you gotta step it up if it's getting that late. Yeah, the devil's nipping at your heels at that point. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And then the next one, okay, so that was good with patience, because like we really don't. I mean, even though you really don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, so it's like patience. You just have to endure.
It's not for man to know God's plans. You never know what's gonna happen.
That's so true.
Yeah, and I tell people, like, as long as you're doing like little things to meet your goals, then, you know, you're at least working towards it. Yeah. So, you know, you don't build Legos, you know, all at once. Like, you do a little piece, and you build up, and then, you know, then you have something cool. So
that's right. And then the other one is forgive. Now this one was kind of touchy because I just saw that this morning. There's a reel. I'm like on Instagram, like.
Too much.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too. It used to be YouTube. Well, it's a little. But I'm trying to, you know, calm down. But I get excited when I see some things. And so I happened to see this well-known bishop, and he was talking to his daughter. I mean, I love them. And he made the statement that forgiveness is like clearing the slate. Like, okay, well, the example that he gave was your friend did something to you that hurt you and caused you pain, and you got into like the bitter thing, so you weren't talking or whatever. Your friend came back and apologized to you, said, "Oh, I'm sorry," but his reference point was, okay, they said that they're sorry just to get to be back where they were, okay, in the relationship. But
well, and like, I feel like that brings up sort of like, how genuine is that forgiveness, is that feeling? And like, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I forgive you," and it's like, no, you hold a grudge. Like, you bring it up like a week later, a month later, like, you keep bringing this up. You didn't forgive me, you know? Yeah. And like, I'm a strong believer, like, there are some things I have not forgiven people for, and it's like, you know, because I feel like they have not addressed the wrong, and like, that is kind of my own issue too.
Forgiveness
like,
runs deep.
You and also you can move on and like, but not necessarily forgive, but like, definitely don't forget. You know.
Okay.
As the saying goes, like, you know, once bitten, twice shy. So, you know, if you've been wronged, you're going to be more mindful of, you might be wronged again that same way. So,
But then, okay, he said, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
The slate is clean,
Yeah.
but we may not be friends again.
Mm-hmm.
So then some people would say, well, did you really forgive? Because if you forgave, then you got the clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
So then don't you establish the relationship before the offense?
I say it depends on like boundaries. Like, you know, if you're in a relationship and you were like adamant, like, I will not put up with cheating. I will not cheat. I do not want my partner to cheat. So if that happens, like your partner cheats on you, like, well, you know, you have that boundary. You have that ultimatum.
Right.
Like, you know, I don't want to be with someone who cheated on me and vice versa, you know. So you may forgive them. You may be like, okay, I forgive you. I understand why you did what you did. But this has shown me, like, I have learned something about you that maybe I didn't know before. So, like, maybe this has opened my eyes to who you are as a person. You have disrespected me in that way.
Right.
So, and some people, you know, both partners cheat and they keep going and they forgive and they keep going. And it just all, you know, it depends. And it can, you know, forgiveness can go a lot of ways. But, like,
especially like because you know when you're doing the counseling part of it, you kind of want to measure the relationship and to weigh, you know, what you're gonna gain and lose in a relationship with marriage, because some couples can overcome infidelity, and because you know sometimes it's like we've got children involved or hey, what did Johnny Taylor say? I think it was Johnny Taylor. It's cheaper to keep her, because sometimes
well,
it's like,
if if you've been taking care of your woman for a while, and
days,
you know, and it's like, hey, I'll buy you a house, you know, just don't take half my millions, you know, that's reasonable. I get that,
right?
And some people, I have known people, not rich people, who have like stayed in marriage due to like, you know, insurance issues, money issues, houses, whatever, where it's like, you know, it is such a hassle and you're gonna pay like tons of money and lawyers and fees like that to split it all up, where it's like, if you're amicable and you're like, we're just gonna do our own thing separately and you're fine with that, then but like sometimes it does come up where it's like, oh, another person finds somebody they want to rejoin into a marriage, so then that changes things.
It does. It really does. Where were we at?
You really ran out this affirmations.
Okay. Oh yeah, forgiveness was we were unforgiveness. So so the clean slate aspect of it is you're going ahead and you're wiping everything clean. You've forgiven them, but you don't necessarily have to involve yourself in that relationship if it is detrimental, especially like domestic violence or something like that. Like, you know, how can you know, God, you know, Jesus turned the other cheek, but okay, for you to do what? Keep, you know,
and it becomes a safety thing too. So
life or death, you know.
Not to mention if you bring in children into it, and it's like so many studies have shown like kids raised in an abusive like household end up passing it down, and it's like, you know, you need to break that cycle.
That's right.
And like, you know, you may love someone, but in the end, it's like, do you want your children learning that this is an okay thing to do?
Right.
You know, whether it's once or like 500 times. You know,
it's time to stop that. We got to like break all these generational, you know, they call them curses or what have you, but just break the cycle of all the negative, you know, stuff. Like, you can begin again. You know, you don't have to, just because your father was abusive to your mother, or even your mother was abusive to your father, because sometimes women have these mouths that would make a man, what does the Bible say? Something about a man would rather be sitting on the rooftop than to listen to a cantankerous, or a woman running off at the mouth and just nagging or whatever. So, I mean, it goes both ways. Like, you know, you can be abusive. It's time to stop that. It's time to really focus on this next word that we're going to say is love. That's what it's time to focus on. You know, it's time, you've forgiven them. Now it's time to love, because it says, and over all these virtues, put on love. Put it on. which binds them all together. Everything is wrapped up with this one thing, and that's love in perfect unity. If you ever, no one is perfect, but love is, and love is God. So wrap yourself up in God. You have to do it, you know, because love is a beautiful thing. And just like I was, you know, sharing, love yourself, because God created you in his likeness, in his image. So therefore you must love yourself. That's where it all starts. When you love yourself, and if you love yourself enough, I know you want to interject. What?
No, like you made me think, like, you know, like you said, love is God, but like you exist, like you are here for a reason.
Yes.
You are a valid person, so you know, love yourself.
Yes.
Like there is a reason you are here. You may not see it. You may
yeah.
feel upset. You may be, you know, feel very poorly about yourself, but you know, and you do not always see that reason, but you can find that. You can help other people, you know.
Yeah.
You can become like a servant upon others.
Oh, yes,
you know?
definitely.
Or, you know, work for churches, nonprofits, whatever.
Right.
You know, if you don't see your own value, at least your value can be a value to other people.
That's true.
So,
Because that goes right into what I was going to say, as far as when you love yourself and you're full of the love for yourself, and then the whole thing is love is God. So then that means you're full of God. And if you're full of God, you know that God cannot be contained. So that love just erupts up out of yourself, and it just spills over to other people all the time. Your love is just so much. It just goes out and goes out and goes out. And that's the whole thing. You have to have love. And the counter of love is hate. Yeah. You know, and you see in a lot of people, you know, doing the wrong thing, hurting other people and things like, it's time to stop all that. You know, it's time to love again.
Like, love is so easy, you know, like but it goes back to that. It's humbling. It's humility, you know. It's easy to hate, you know, especially things you don't understand, all that. But it's like, you know, nothing good comes of hate.
Right.
It just pushes people, things away. So
yeah, that's true. Now that was good. That was just affirmation.
So maybe we might cut here and then, you know, do a second part 2 and work through them. So we'll see how we keep going along. So either it'll follow this or we'll post it again. So thanks for joining us for this section of affirmation, and we'll go on and do the other 4 of the 5. So, but so we're talking about the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. So, and we're just tying into like Bible verses and teachings from the Bible. So we wrapped up affirmation, and we're gonna follow up with quality time, gift giving, acts of service, and physical touch. So
and if you have any questions, make sure that they
comment on this wherever we're posting it. I'm gonna try and post on YouTube and TikTok, and you can post on Instagram or something. I don't.
Well, you gotta do it.
No, I don't like Facebook either. So, but I don't know. We'll do something.
Okay. So, well, Instagram is so short. So, but okay.
Next time.
Next time. See you guys. Word